today we're going to be doing the fire necklace piece. And this is one of the most popular pieces. And we're going to be using today red, dandelion, black, and red orange. And we're also going to be using some red tinsel glitter, and those will be in your kits so that you have everything ready for you. And I'm going to put the red into my melting pot, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways today on how to apply the wax. So depending on how much time you have and which tools you have, you can use one of these methods. The first one I'm going to start with is the wax design tool, the number 2, and I'm going to use a smaller end. And I am going to, let's put it in the black here, warm it up. Remember, it's still wax. Anytime you're using this tool in any of the necklace techniques, we have to warm it up. Being in the wax or under the heat gun, we need to warm it up. So now that we've done that, we're just going to come in and we're going to apply the wax. Now, when you're doing this, you don't want to go back over the other wax to make it cold. Now, if you have more than one of these tools and I need to pull some more out, it's easier. One for each color is much easier, but I'm also going to show you something different here as well. So I'm going to go to my red, and what we're trying to do is just kind of trying to create kind of a straight line. Now I'm going to show you another method which I think is easier, and that is with the eyedroppers. So we're going to put the eyedroppers directly into the melting pot, and we're going to warm those up, and we're just going to come in here and we're going to apply this right on. And I think that is easier and it saves time. And if you want them wider, just come in and go underneath that line to make them a little bit wider. And again, don't put too much wax, just a little bit, like 1/4 or less in the bottom of those. We don't need a whole bunch in there. So now that I've got that, I'm going to come in, and I separated my red and red orange with the yellow and the black so that there's some color variance. Now with this technique that I'm doing today, I really suggest the 2-inch, and that's what I'm working on. That's what I work on mostly. The 2.5, you're starting to get a little bit too big, and it's harder to control the area. So that is the reason that I do this. And sometimes I'll even come in and only make a little bit of a black line with my smaller tool so that the black isn't taking over the whole design. And the 2-inch that I'm talking about is a 2-inch gourd round. The piece, this is 2 inches. This will be in your kit. It will be that size in your kit. And we do have more available if you find out that you really like those real well. So now let's move on to the red. But a lot of times I'll come back in with my number 0 tool or my number 1 tool and just apply that black line a little bit less, because black can take over and you don't want it to take over your design. And our red orange, those kind of a sunset looking colors. And now we're back to the black, and I'm going to show you what I mean this time. I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my number 0 tool. You could also use your number 1 tool, the small end. And we're just going to put a littler, I probably should even go to the littler end, just so there's not quite as much. I guess I don't. Next time I would almost go to the 0 tool, the small end. Alright, so we got our little bit of black on. And we are ready for red. And yellow. You want to make sure that you get the edges up here. I should do that with black, not with yellow. And the red orange. And then we have 3 different things on there. Now, when you're doing these, you can make them wider, you can make them more narrow, just depending on the look that you want to get. We're going to put our Tencel glitter on, and when you're putting glitter on, you usually want to warm it just a little to get that on. So I'm going to get that ready to go, and I'm going to get that red Tencel glitter right there so I can grab into it. Make sure that you don't have it close enough that you blow it with your heat tool. Can you think I've done that before? Okay, we're going to start on the outside edges and work our way in, because the outside melts before the middle melts before the outside does. And right when it gets shiny, I know that it's melted enough, and I'm going to try, and these are real small areas, just to put the Tencel glitter kind of on the red areas. And I know that's kind of hard. We've got to get some little spoons in here for our glitter work. Okay. You also could use black Tencel or anything you want to that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to warm this up, and we're going to try to warm this up but not move the wax around a lot. We want to keep this as straight as possible. So when we do that, we're going to actually lift it probably higher so that it's more of an even heat and not blowing real strong on it. And after we do that, we're going to get our wax design tool, and I am going to be using the 0, the larger end, and I'm going to heat it under my heat tool first, and then when that's liquidy, we're going to pull that. You don't want to pull it when it's not liquidified, because if you do, you just kind of get gumming up of the wax, and it's cold, and you'll notice it. If you do and you've pulled it, just kind of melt it, and so where you don't see any up and down, you can't see where your tool has been through. It should be nice and smooth. So we're going to start that process. Again, we're going to start on the outside, and I'm going to wait and heat my tool up. If you had a clean melting pot, you could use that melting pot to keep your tool warm, or you could warm it in the chimney, which was probably what I should be doing, till we get that ready. Okay, we're almost there. It's starting to wiggle a little bit, but you got to make sure that all of it is melted. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to heat my tool up, make sure it's heated, and now that we've got that, I'm going to pull that, and pull that, and pull that, and pull that. And however close you want those is how close that you do those together. I'm going to stop. You don't want to overdo it. I'm going to set it down because it's kind of running right there, so we don't want to overdo this. It's real important that we don't overdo it. Now I'm going to show you the difference on this one. It moved a little bit more. The colors weren't as separated, so you could move it a little bit more if you like the looks of this one. This one also had thicker sections, and we moved it a little bit more. The green was thicker, the black was just a tad. And then this one, we kept this one nice and tight. so that we barely melted that and then pulled it through. So there's all these different variations just on this one little technique, but this is one of the funnest techniques and one of the most popular ones, and I really have a lot of fun with this one. And another thing I wanted to tell you, when you get ready to heat it all up, make sure your colors have all cooled down, that one color is not warmer than the other colors, because it will heat up faster than the other colors, and you want to make sure that you didn't do that. So we're going to take our hobby knife and clean up our edges. Make sure, don't put your finger in your design if it's still warm. And we're going to get all that off. And you can see that it goes dull until we put our sealer on top of it. So once this is cooled off, you do not want it warm, because it does affect your sealer. And we're going to be using the Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. Now on the Dimensional Magic, you usually pour it on and just keep working it around, but I can't keep it from falling off the side, so I put mine on with the brush. And you don't shake it. And the Mod Podge Dimensional Magic is an item we do carry. Put it in the middle. And just take your brush, and you can rinse it out with water. That's what I really like it. And just look how much color that brings back to that piece. How awesome that piece is. And you want to make sure you get the edges really, really well. And I would probably do a minimum of 5 coats, because it is wax. You want to make sure that it's not going to melt on you. And let the coats dry really, really well in between each application. And the last one, make sure that you have a minimum of 3 hours before you complete it, so that it's nice and dry and you don't leave any fingerprints or anything in that piece. All of your work, you want to make sure that you do it really well. So that is how we do our one that we're going to call Fire. And we're going to let this dry, and when we come back, we're going to add the necklace. I'm going to show you the proper way to put the finish on this. I noticed just real quick when we were going back, the way I was showing you was leaving the brush strokes, and we don't want that. And we want to just go into a little bit more detail, the proper way to apply our Dimensional Magic. Dimensional Magic is made to be put on thick. So we want to put it on thicker than just a little bit of brushing on. And it's better to have too much than too little. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to start it on the outside. I'm going to put a layer, and then I'm going to put quite a bit in the middle. And actually, from what I found out, it is better to have too much than not enough. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to go along the outside edge. And I'm just going to lightly spread it out on top. And if it comes over the sides, just wipe that off. It's not a big deal. But what you'll notice is, when I went to wipe, these ridges right here are going to disappear because it is thick enough for them to blend back together. And if it's not thick enough, you need to apply more of the Dimensional Magic, and that way it keeps us from getting the brush strokes. Now see, when I put them on more, you don't want to do that. You want to get it on and leave it. You don't want to overwork it. So less is actually better when it comes to putting or using the brush on it. Just wipe a couple times to get that all kind of spread out nice and even, and then you'll notice it start to kind of gel down. And that is how that you want to apply the Dimensional Magic. Just keep your sides clean, set that straight down, and let that continue to dry.